want to talk about the terror attack that occurred in England yesterday, and anyone with kids, you might want to tell them to leave the room or look away. We have this new video, police taking down a pair of terror suspects. You know, the reason we think it's important to show you, as graphic as it is because you can clearly see that at least one of the alleged assailants charging toward the police. Then and only then do the police fire. In London, 2 men are in custody in the brutal murder of a British soldier, and there are more arrests as well. Nick Robertson has the latest now from London. So what do we know about this, this new video? What is the reaction to it there, Nick?
Well, it certainly shows there's been a lot of criticism of the police showing up late here. There's been talk about the 2 men waiting almost for the police to arrive, then charging at them. And this video does appear to show that very clearly, shot from above, from an apartment complex that overlooks where the young soldier was brutally murdered. And as the police arrive on the scene, literally as they arrive there, movement towards them, they shoot at one of the suspects, move forward, continue shooting at the other suspect, and you can see that suspect on that injured suspect then on the ground, Anderson.
And what's the latest now about the 2 new people taken into custody today? As also, do we know anything more about the suspected killers?
Well, the 2 new people in custody, a man and a woman, both aged 29, arrested at a house here in South London. Not a lot is known about them other than their ages, arrested on the suspicion of conspiracy to murder. As for the 2 men themselves, the main suspects, one 22 years old, the other 28 years old, Michael Adebolajo, a British-born of Nigerian descent, a convert to Islam, somebody who his friend said held very strong views about Muslims and the way they were being treated around the world. We also now understand that both these men were known to the British security services, Anderson.
So how were they known to British security services? Do we know?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that they were clearly on the radar. At least one of them had been attending rallies belonging to a group that has pro-Al-Qaeda sympathies. We understand that these men were not specifically being observed by the security services about them, but people they knew were under investigation, and that's how they came on the radar. But of course, a lot of people now asking that question, well, if you'd come across them before, why perhaps were you not looking at them more closely if you'd come across them several times? So that's a big question being raised here right now, Anderson.
Let's talk about the victim here. What do we know about him? Lee Rigby is his name. That's been released. And is there anything that could indicate that he was actually targeted, or did he just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time?
You know, we are learning details that may provide some information about that he might have come into contact potentially with his alleged killers before. He was a very well respected, very well liked young soldier. Somebody his friend said, look, whenever he was around, he raised people's spirits. He had a quick humor. 25 years old. He had a 2-year-old son called Jack. He was from the north of England. He joined the army in 2006. 2009, he served in Afghanistan fire support at a small base, providing artillery support for troops in the field. And then 2011, and this is where it gets perhaps interesting here, 2011, he comes here to South London and becomes a recruitment officer for the army. And in that role, he's clearly in contact with the public more than perhaps other soldiers would be based here in London. So it does raise that possibility that could his killers, alleged killers, have identified him, met him perhaps when he'd been out on recruiting drives, seen him in a recruiting office somewhere, known details about his previous service. So that's something that's getting a lot of scrutiny right now as well, Anderson.
It's still just so sickening. Nick, I appreciate the update. Thank you.